is level I, list 8, and we're doing the day 1 page. So let's read the words. We've got rage, range, magic, tragic, giant, raft, mask, clasp, brass, nasty. So in these words here, we can see we've got the GE, GE, GI, GI, GI. You can colour all of those in. And we know that when we have a G followed by an E, an I or a Y, it's making it soft sound J rather than G. So let's have a look at the next set of words down here. We've got raft, so we've got the A making the R sound in these words. It sounds like there's an R in there, but there's not. We could also, quite often with these words, it might be easier to say them to spell them. So we could go raft, mask, clasp, brass and nasty, rather than giving it that R sound, if you find that easier to make the spelling correct. Okay, there's some other things that we need to look at in these words as well. So we have got, so you know that if you have a word that's more than one syllable, magic, we just use the C for the K sound. So tragic, we've just got the C there. We don't put CK if it's more than one syllable. Down here, we haven't really got anything else in there. We are revising that E at the end of a word. We use a Y for the E sound. And you know that if we did pronounce this as a short sound, brass, we would put double S on the end of it. Okay, so let's have a look at what these words mean. We've got rage means when someone's really angry, they're in a rage. You could have a mountain range, or you could have a range of goods, which means a selection or a choice of things. Magic is when you do something that surprises someone else. It could be a trick, or it could be something that's really nice. Tragic is when something really bad happens. A giant is a very large thing. It could be a very, very large person, but giant indicates something is huge. A raft is a boat that we might make to float on water. It's quite fun to do. You use logs and bits of wood to make it. Mask is something that you may use on your face to cover your mouth and nose, or maybe if you're going to a party where you have to wear masks, you cover your eyes so people have to guess who's there. Sometimes you see characters will wear a mask. So if you're in a play or a show, you might wear a mask to pretend you're an animal or some such thing. A clasp is something that we use to join things together, and it can also be a verb. It could be used such as you clasp your mother's hand before you cross the road, or the baby koala will clasp hold of its mother's back and so it doesn't fall off the tree. Brass is a type of, it's like a yellow metal, and a lot of instruments are made from it. It's not as precious as gold, and it's a lot lighter than gold, but it is a yellow metal. Nasty is where something really bad happens. It can be used to describe things that are not good, that are nasty. Okay, let's read the words down the words, spell the words, and we'll write them. So we've got rage, rage, and you can see this E here is making that A make its long sound as well. So rage, 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 R-A-G-E, R-A-G-E, R-A-G-E. Then you cover it and write it 3 times. And check to make sure that you've spelt it correctly. This is level I, and we're doing list 8, day 2. So let's read the words. We've got rage, range, magic, tragic, giant, raft, mask, clasp, brass, nasty. Now you may want to say these words to make the spelling easier. So rather than giving that A, it's R sound in these words, you might like to go raft, mask, clasp, brass, nasty. See how you go, you can do it either way. Okay, so in the top line we're learning that when we have an E, a GE, a GI or a GY, it's going to make the G say J, not G. So it's GE, GI, and we didn't have a GY to use. There's not a lot with GY on them where we've got the G being forced to make its J sound. So we haven't included that one, but there are quite a lot with a G followed by an E, especially at the end of a word, because English words may never end with a J, and that's why we commonly use GE at the end of words for the J sound. So that's the reason that's happening there. Now this E here has been very busy. Not only is it making the G say J, it's also making that previous vowel make its long sound A. So we've got range, we've got the E on the end there. Here we've got an I after the G in magic. Now, if this is a short vowel, once you get into a word with more than one syllable, magic, you've got to use just a C for the K sound. You know, normally when we have a word with a short vowel sound in it, we put CK at the end of it. And if we have a long vowel sound, we put a K at the end of it. But when you get into a word with more than one part or more than one syllable, like magic, electric, you're going to just use the C for the K sound at the end of those words. So you've got the same thing happening in tragic. You've got just the C because you've got a short vowel sound there. So down here, these ones are quite easy. You can hear the sound. If you say it to spell, you've got raft, mask, asp, Now, because that's a short sound, if it was pronounced correctly, we will put two S's at the end. Nasty or nasty, we've got the Y making the E sound at the end of a word, and that's the most common way to write the E sound at the end of a word. We use Y at the end of thousands of words for the E sound. Now, let's have a look at what all of these words mean. So rage means when you're very angry or mad. Arrange might mean an area, or so you might go to a range where there's an area where there's lots of something, lots of trees or something. It could also mean an array of things, a group of things. Magic is when you might do a trick or something's very special. Tragic is when something terrible happens. A giant is something that's very big. Now a raft, you remember, is maybe a little floating boat that you can make to float on water. A mask is something that you might use to cover your nose, mouth or eyes. A clasp could be a noun or a verb. It could be something that you use to do up like a belt. You might have a clasp on your belt, and it can also mean to hold on to. So you might clasp your mother's hand when you're crossing a road. Brass is a type of metal. It's yellow in colour like gold, but it's worth a lot less in value than gold, and it's a lot lighter metal than gold. It's quite light to pick up. We have a lot of musical wind instruments that are made of brass. Nasty means something horrid. Okay, so you've got to write a list word that means some of those things. You've got to, down here you have to read the sentence and fill in the spaces with, or the gaps with, one of these missing words up here. Down here you have to just simply finish those words. We're really wanting to look at some of the letters that you're using for those sounds in those words, and here you're doing some opposites. So before I leave you, let's do the read the word, sound the word, spell the word and write it, check it, and then go on to the next one. So we've got rage, so we're going to sound it, rage, and spell it R-A-G-E, cover it and write it. Let's do this one down here. Let's say it to spell. So we're going to go raft, R-A-F-T, cover it and spell it. You can choose with these ones here whether you say them to spell or whether you sound them out as they are, raft. But then you have to remember that that A is making the R sound. Okay, this is level I, list 8, and we're doing day 3. So we've got rage, range, magic, tragic, giant, raft, mask, clasp, brass, nasty. You may prefer to say these words to spell to make them easier to spell. In that case, you would say raft, mask, clasp, brass, nasty. You can choose which way you find easier. Now we know that if a G is followed by an E, an I or a Y, it's going to make it soft sound J. And we like to do this a lot at the end of the words because English words may never ever end with a J. So we have to use the GE for the J sound at the end of words. So that's why we've got these rage and range in there for you. Now magic, remember you've got more than one syllable in this word, magic. So if you've got a short vowel and you want to, normally in a short word you'd put CK after a short vowel, but because this word has 2 syllables, we drop it to just the C. So you've got that in tragic and magic. In these ones, these are quite simple. You've got the A making its R sound. We put that emphasis on that R emphasis on the A there. It probably should be an at sound. Depends on how you say it. So if we got to this one, brass, we would know to put the 2 S's. Now on, it's just that we say it differently. We've changed it to brass. Now nasty or nasty, you've got the E sound on the end, and we've already learnt that Y is the most common way of writing the E sound on the end of words. So let's read the word sound, the word spell, the word, and write them. And we'll go through the rest of the page. So we're going to go rage, R-A-G-E, cover it and write it. So you might go raft, raft, R-A-F-T, and write those ones. Now write the extended word. Now there's lots of take away and add signs here. So if you're going to write nastiness, you have to think of the word nasty. So you're going to write N-A-S-T, take away the Y, add an I, and then add N-E-S-S, and you'll end up with nastiness. This is making the word tragically, magical, and unclasped. Sounds like a T at the end, but you know you write ED. Then you've got to use any of those 2 words in sentences here. Now fill in the gap with a list word or extension. A something bandit, a masked bandit. Now you're going to have masked. Sounds like a T at the end of it, but you know you're going to write ED. A something boulder would probably be a giant boulder, a jewellery range, and a something band. Wonder what that one could be. You could work that one out on your own. Probably a brass band. It's a bit of a hint. In verb families, we're looking for the base word. Then we're adding the S here, so we've got mask, rages, so the E is already there, so you know you only have to add the S, and clasps. Here we're adding the ing, so we've got masking, raging, so E goes away when ing comes to stay, and then you've got clasping, so you just have to add the ing there. Here you've got the ED that you're adding to these words. Now this is tricky here today. We've got masked. It's making its T sound because of the K, but you know to write ED. Raged, the E is already there, so you just add the D. And clasped, sounds like a T at the end, but you know you're adding the ED. So ED can make 3 sounds. It can say T, D, or ud, but you know you should be writing ED at the end to make its past tense. So comparators and superlatives is where when we compare 2 things, so we've got the little word compare hidden inside there, we're working out which is more, which is less. Superlatives is a bigger group, so whenever we're comparing more than 2 things, we're going to say the most of something, and when we do that we add EST. So you can see the meaning more, and the EST will be added here. So we have the base word will be nasty, that is nasty, that is nasty. We've got to change the Y to an I because there's a consonant before the Y. And then we've got nastiest. So once again, because there's a consonant before the Y, you have to change Y to an I before you add the EST. If there was a vowel before the Y, you would not change it. So the last one is alphabetical order. You just have to say the alphabet, and you've got to find which word starts with each letter of the alphabet as you go through and write them in. This is level I, list 8, and we're on to day 4, and we're talking about idioms. So idioms are very important to understand because they're used a lot in books. And once upon a time we used to use idioms a lot in our everyday speech, but now we don't use them as much, and a lot of you kids are getting confused by what these idioms mean, and when you read a book you don't really understand what the author is saying. So we've put some idioms in here to introduce you to some of the more common ones. So idioms are a group of words that have a different meaning to what they seem to say. It makes you picture something strange that doesn't make sense. You have to look for clues to figure out what these words mean. It's raining cats and dogs is an example. Well, we know it can't rain cats and dogs, so what is the author really saying, or what is the speaker really saying? This idiom makes you picture it raining cats and dogs, but it really means that there is heavy rain, or that everything is happening all at once. Fill in the gaps here and match the picture to the correct meaning. So these are the idioms we've got. He is a couch potato. You just hit the nail on the head. I'm on top of the world. I can't believe you let the cat out of the bag. So what do those little idioms really mean? You have to put what you think they mean here on these lines. And if you have a look at the picture should help you. So it seems to me that a couch potato is a potato sitting on a couch, but it doesn't really. It really means a lazy person. So you've got to draw a line from the picture to the real meaning of that word. So here we've got a man, you just hit the nail on the head. This is a man hammering a nail into someone's head. Well, that couldn't be right. So which one would it mean? I'm on top of the world. Well, can you really stand on top of the world? No. So what does it really mean? I can't believe you let the cat out of the bag. I don't think we'd put a cat in a bag. So what are we really saying there? So down here you have to draw a picture for what it seems each idiom is saying. Just like we draw a picture here of what it seemed to be saying, you've got to do it down here. So if you could think of this one here, caught red-handed, of course the person that you're going to have being caught will have a red hand. So you can draw those 3 pictures, spill the beans and all in the same boat. And remember, you've got to draw the picture of what it seems to mean. You can discuss with your friends what they're really meaning when they say each of these idioms.